welcome back to the Port Haven Book Club. We're here again after a much longer break than I anticipated, about to do our 6th book. We've done the Aftermath trilogy, we've done Bloodline, and most recently we've done Most Wanted. And you can find those other book club experiences in playlists here on the channel. I should have them in the description if you want to kind of get in on some of the other books we've done, especially if you want more content than what will be weekly in the series. If you're not familiar with a series like this or the format they're in, basically we're going to go over a book, in this case Catalyst by James Luceno, a couple of chapters at a time and really dig into the themes and the happenings and the goings-ons and the connections such as I'm able to recognize them, and really discuss the book in depth as opposed to, just kind of broadly touching on everything that happens in like a podcast length video like we'll do sometimes. So I'm really excited to dive in. Mentally, I'm kind of considering this book the start of season 2, which makes no sense because then the first season lasted like 2 years, because apparently that's how seasons work. But I just feel like we've had enough of a gap that this is going to kind of be, alright, we're starting up again with another couple of books. So like I said, we're going to do Catalyst by James Luceno. If you're not familiar with it, it is a prequel to Rogue One. We've read a couple of lead-in novels. Aftermath really is the only other one that was a lead-in to The Force Awakens. Most Wanted was not a lead-in to Solo, but it came out the same day that Solo did, at least in the US. And so, it was part of the, hype such as it was for Solo coming out. And I say that as somebody who loves Solo. I'm just upset that it wasn't hype. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Solo. We're here to talk about Rogue One, which is another thing I'm really excited about because we actually haven't talked about Rogue One too much on the channel. I have a video on the themes of redemption in Rogue One if you have an interest in that. We also watched Rogue One last year as a part of our Journey to the Rise of Skywalker where we discussed it. So if you're here for more Rogue One content, we have some stuff like that around the channel. But I'm really excited because most of what we talked about, the channel really kind of got started in the lead up to The Last Jedi, when Rogue One was already out, and I really wasn't into too much discussion level stuff at that point because I was still getting my feet wet. So this will be fun to actually kind of get to talk about some stuff that happens in the movie. Again, if you've never read this, pretty much this book leads up to the opening scene of Rogue One. That being the scene with Galen and Orson, and Lyra and Jen. And it really, this book is going to establish what those relationships are, how Galen and Orson kind of came to work with each other, the relationship between him and Lyra, early days of Jen. We have baby Jen in these books, and it sets up kind of the transition, I guess, from Clone Wars era to Imperial era. So it's really informative, it's really good. It's Luceno doing what Luceno does best, which is weaving connections and kind of taking that broader picture of Star Wars and making it all matter. He's really good at taking pieces from all over the place and bringing them and kind of synthesizing them into Star Wars. This is one of my favorite James Luceno novels, and I don't like to get into super negative stuff, or critiquing isn't negative, critiquing is important. But, there's a tone to critiquing and there's a relevance to critiquing. And I don't like to get into the personal, side of critiquing too much. But Luceno isn't my favorite Star Wars author. He's not my least favorite Star Wars author. His books are kind of hit and miss with me. But what I love about Catalyst is it's everything that's good about James Luceno with very little of the James Luceno things that bug me. So I'm saying this as somebody who's not a super big James Luceno fan. I really, really, really like this book. So if you do like James Luceno, hopefully that translates to it being one of his best works for you. If you're not a big James Luceno fan, I would encourage you to still give this a try because I wouldn't call myself a fan of his writing, and I loved this book. So, kind of take that for how it is, or for what it is there. And I hope you would join us. This is, like I said, an announcement video. We're not going to break it down too much. I want to get into that next week. As you can tell by how verbose this simple announcement video is, that's what you can expect from the books in this series as we talk about stuff. Next week, we're going to talk about chapter 1. Typically, we'll talk about more than one chapter, especially if we want to get through this book in any time this decade. But typically in the first video, I do a lot of groundwork, laying, and like explaining and kind of do the best I can to set the book where it's at, both in what's going on in Star Wars and what's going on in the making of Star Wars. And so I don't want to overburden the first episode, so we're just going to talk about chapter 1. Right now I'm planning on making this a Monday series. These new book club videos will drop on Monday. I will let you guys know in our Discord should the schedule ever change. If it's something drastic, I'll probably post it in the community tab on the channel, but typically if it's just going to be a little bit off, Discord is really where you want to go if you want to be up to date on everything that's going on. But that's really all I'll say about this right now, I think. Let's go ahead. I'll tell you what. We'll read this little doodad here at the beginning of the book. So this is kind of like the scene. If you want to know what this book is, again, if you're not familiar with it, and you want a little bit more about whether or not you should join along, it says here, for years, the Clone Wars have raged across the galaxy. Countless worlds have been ensnared in the constant conflict between the Galactic Republic and the Separatist army led by the devious Count Dooku. While rumors spread that the Separatists are nearing completion of a superweapon, fear grips the Republic. In response, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine has tasked a secret team of researchers with perfecting a battle station for the Republic. The Death Star. So here you can see we're starting in Clone Wars era. This is not necessarily a Clone Wars novel, I wouldn't really call it that, but it does start during the Clone Wars. And it's setting up the fact that both factions here are kind of working on super weapons. And so we're going to be discussing the arms race that eventually becomes the Death Star. So I'm excited to dive into this with you guys. I will talk to you guys next week about chapter 1. That video will again go up next Monday in theory if everything goes according to plan. And I will talk to you guys then, and I hope you choose to join us.